Man, it smells in here. Oof, it's worse under here. We had to leave the vent fan on basically 24/7 just to keep the smell out of here.
And I'm going to guarantee you when we clean out your black tank today, you'll be
you'll be
shocked at what comes out.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can't show that on camera. I don't know. It might be kind of gross.
That is unfortunately what we see is right there is just this kind of slow river of lava coming out.
Oh my God.
And all that thick mess you are leaving behind.
Because you're using an additive.
Yep, you have turned your holding tank into a septic system.
So that's a myth that you need a tank additive.
100%.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Cheri.
And we're EnjoyTheJourney.Life. This video is a shorter version of this video right here with just the best information all about the mistakes and things you need to do differently with your black tank. And stick around till the end because I'm troubleshooting a funky smell in our bathroom, and no, it's not the black tank. Wait till you see what it is. I've never seen this before, have you? Plus an update on an RV solution that many of you didn't even think existed. Let's jump into the video with Jim. I think ourselves, like most RVers, it's like, well, it's the black tank is something you deal with and you probably don't take care of it like you should.
That is 100% correct. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of people giving you opinions and advice, and you know, I've got 9 years of experience, cleaned tens of thousands of tanks. And
great, because what we like to do is kind of bust through the RV myths that are out there.
Perfect.
And I've got the products that, you know, we've used or one that we planned on using over here. I'll get your opinions on that. You probably have some recommendations.
I absolutely do.
So you know of the dozens and dozens of additives, which ones work and which ones
I can give you my opinion on them, and you can take it with whatever advice you want to give it. So the combo tanks, you know, the one that are associated with the washer and dryer, those are okay to leave open when you're doing laundry, or you know, if it was connected to a shower and you have a big family in there, that's okay to leave that tank open at that time. But in general, you want to make sure you're keeping all of your tanks closed so that they fill up as full as they can be. When you pull that pull, then you get that kind of nice big whoosh and that kind of cleaning swirl that goes through the tanks. So in general, keep your tanks closed until you absolutely need to empty them.
Even the gray?
Even the gray.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah, because what can happen in the gray is if you leave that open, you've got toothpaste and hair and whiskers and sand and skin and everything, and it starts to coagulate and makes these kind of bacon fat kind of like balls in there, and then they come together, and next thing you know, you've got a clog in your gray tank, and those are really hard to get out. You really want to have water as your friend in these tanks, so you really want them to fill up as much as they can.
Okay.
Yep.
I've heard different people say that just because of long showers and stuff like that. I've left the gray open.
Yeah.
I guess I'm doing one of the mistakes already here.
Well, you know, your tanks here are pretty big, and most RVs, you know, even like a 20 or 25 gallon tank, you know, that can get you a couple showers.
Okay.
But you really want to leave those closed, and I know a lot of RVers leave their grays open, and I really can't recommend that you do that. It's just the best tanks that I have serviced have been the ones where they are closed all the time.
Well, I'll have to start doing that.
Are you using any kind of tank additive at all?
I mean, I can't say I catch every time, but Happy Campers has been the go-to. I have another one from Dometic that you know, we've used once in a while, and I've got another one that's supposed to clean them that I bought, and I haven't used it yet. I forget the name of it, but I've got it on the picnic table.
Okay.
So
my big message to RVers is that all you need to use is water.
Okay.
You don't need to use any kind of tank additive at all. If you are using enough water in here, and there are a couple of things we want to think about, but enough water will keep these tanks clean. Now, we can talk about additives.
So that's a myth that you need a tank additive.
100%. Yeah. If
Okay.
you use enough water in there. So you're using the toilet, you fill it up, you do whatever, you flush it down, fill it up again, flush it down, fill it up again for the next time. 2 flushes, 2 bowls full of water is enough to get stuff down out of your toilet into the tank and increase that that water to waste ratio. That's number
Okay.
one. Number 2, travel with some water in all of your tanks. Yours are good size, so 10, 15 gallons, not a problem.
Okay.
Don't need to put ice in there. That's another myth. Ice does not work.
Oh, okay. Gosh, we should start counting these. So myth number 2 is don't use ice. I have heard that one. I have never done it.
Yeah.
So
the reason it doesn't work is your size tanks, you would have to put 13, 11-pound bags of ice in there, and I guarantee you nobody is doing that.
oh my gosh,
And,
yeah, that'd be crazy.
And we think of ice as being very sharp, but the sharp part, the edges, is what melts first.
Right.
And then in order to get the turbulence that you think you need to scrub those tanks, you literally would have to be going over a cliff. But what's helping is that ice is melting into water, and that's what helps to keep the tanks nice and clean.
Okay.
So traveling with water, when you get to your destination, if you're camping again, empty that traveling water out and start with 3 to 5 gallons of fresh water in every tank, so that
Every
we
tank.
can kind of reduce the viscosity of what's going to be in there.
Including the gray tank.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to say also a myth is to always leave your gray tank open. So since a
Yes.
lot of people do.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. Well, that's, again, we love busting through all of the opinion out there and just getting down to, you've got 9 years of experience
Yep.
dealing with, again,
Yep.
tanks.
Yep.
So-
and you use a tank additive that breaks down or dissolves things in your tanks.
Okay,
You have turned your holding tank into a septic system.
really?
And what happens then is now that tank is full of peanut butter, oatmeal. It's very thick and viscous. And I'm guessing your tank sensors don't work?
Right, yeah.
They don't work because that thick mess that's in your tanks is gathering on those sensors and preventing them from reading properly.
Right.
And you'll tell me that you have a really good flushing regimen and you put fresh water in there and it comes out clean, right? But what I'm telling you is that the water you are putting in is the water you're bringing out, and all that thick mess you are leaving behind.
Because you're using an additive.
Yep, you're turning it into this kind of thick peanut butter, and it's sticking to the walls, and there's a layer of it on the bottom of your tanks. And I'm going to guarantee you, when we clean out your black tank today, you'll be shocked at what comes out.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can't show that on camera. I don't know. It might be kind of gross.
I'm going to jump in here really quick. We promised you guys a follow-up on this. We dumped Starlink internet service for a more affordable RV internet solution. Let's face it, when you're camping, you want great internet. Maybe you've got kids. Maybe after an adventure, you want to watch a movie, get on social media. Whatever it is, you want a reliable internet solution. Or maybe you're full-time RVing and you need to have internet on the road. Not everybody wants to pay the $600 plus for equipment to get Starlink, or $150 a month for the roam service. Or you want backup to your Starlink when you've got a wooded area and you can't get your signal through the trees, or it's congested, or you've been throttled. And your satellite internet can lose signal when it's storming like this. Or you just don't want to bother putting out your Starlink antenna if you're just stopping overnight quickly. So how is this solution doing? Actually, the speeds have gotten faster. Many of you didn't believe that this is not just one network. It is all 3 networks. Yes, you get AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon all on this. It actually selects the best signal in here. Some of you don't believe it, but it's true. I've been testing this for months now. This works anywhere you can get a cell phone signal, which, let's face it, that's pretty much everywhere these days. There's no setup. All you do is plug it in and it works. It works while you are traveling. It works with a cell phone booster. It works with 12 volts. So how much is it for the equipment? It is $0, nada, not a charge for equipment ever. There's a monthly service, starts at $80 per month, but actually that gets better. There's no contracts, there's no credit checks. I have a 20% off discount code off your first month that you can get using this QR code right here. It'll also be down in the pinned comment and in the description. They ship these out quickly. There's a free trial. Make sure you get yours ordered in time for your next camping trip. Oh, and this works as your home internet as well, either as a primary or a backup source.
The first step that we do in our service is to hydrojet out your tanks, and we use this professional pump here. It's actually made in Italy, very similar to a pressure washer, but there are some important differences there. We're working at 1500 psi, 10 to 20 times the amount that you're able to get with your black tank flush. And I always say to people that it is a good thing to have a black tank flush. Use it when you're emptying out. Extra water, extra turbulence. Does it do as good of a job as we do in cleaning? Obviously not, because we're 10 times the pressure. We use kind of a flexible wand, helps us get up in there, and then specially designed, custom made cleaning heads. And what I'm going to do here is kind of show you what kind of pressure we're actually talking about here. So this is just plain water pressure like that.
Okay.
And then under powered pressure,
wow,
we're talking some pretty intense stuff. So that's a jet about 6 to 8 feet long.
Okay.
Your tanks are about 9 to 12 inches tall. So you can imagine a 8-foot jet and a 1-foot tall pipe. It is actually cleaning everything out of there. It will get it as clean as it came from the factory.
Do I dare ask you what's the weirdest thing you saw come out?
Well, a number of things. Really quickly, I always see toys coming out of the kids throw down there. A can of energy drink once, cleaning wand certainly. I saw 3 or 4 cigars come out once. Probably the worst thing was a customer who couldn't get anything out. They had a clog in there. The clog ended up being 20 years of using paper towels instead of toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
The entire tank was compacted and dried out. Took me over 5 hours to clean it out. And we do we do toilet and tank clogs too, but that was probably the worst thing that I've ever done.
So do you deal with the infamous poop pyramid?
Yeah, it's not, yeah, exactly. It's not as prevalent as everybody thinks it is.
Okay.
But, a lot of toilet paper clogs, things like that. Everybody thinks that you have to use RV toilet paper, and a little tip here is that you can use anything you want.
Oh, so we need to call this, I think, myth number 4.
Myth number 4.
That any kind of toilet paper is okay.
Yep, there are 2 caveats. Number 1, don't ball it up into a big, giant, tight ball.
Okay.
And number 2, the same thing I've been preaching the whole time, is just use plenty of water. But you can you don't have to use the expensive RV stuff. You want to use that 3-ply, double quilted vanilla lavender stuff, go right ahead.
So you don't need to bother with the whole dissolve test kind of a thing.
No, because remember, you don't want things dissolving in your tank. It's not a septic tank, it's a holding tank. So by adding things in there that are going to break down, that are going to create a peanut butter or an oatmeal, you're only making things worse in there. The best situation would be a tank full of water with stuff floating around in it. You know what I'm talking about. That just comes out freely and easily when you open up the gate valve. So when it dissolves and breaks down, that's when we have problems in our tanks.
Isn't Jim like blowing your mind right now with all of this information? Well, guess what? Jim has agreed to answer some of your questions, and we will turn this information into a series about taking care of your RV tanks. So make sure you scan this QR code right here with your smartphone, or you can use the subscribe link down in the pinned comment and the description so you catch all of these informational videos.
Customers that use those type of tank additives that break down or digest stuff, well,
Oh, geez.
That is unfortunately what we see is right there is just this kind of slow river of lava coming out.
Oh my God.
And that's what's been sitting in the bottom of your tanks up against the sensors now for 3 years. So
that is gross.
it is gross. It is really gross. But
don't watch it.
No.
Hide from the camera.
Thankfully the smell-o-vision has been turned off. You don't want to smell it.
Yeah, I have to say the smell is not great right now.
No. You know, this is what you would hope to be doing with your onboard tank flush, but you just don't have the pressure that we do. But using a lot of water and being diligent with your rinsing can help your tanks. When we're done here with the washing, we'll get into the rinsing part, and I'll show you a little contraption that I recommend every RVer have. That's pretty typical of all tanks, whether it's your black or your gray or even your freshwater. They do get mold and mildew. It likes to grow in hot, wet environments, and that's all of your tanks.
Right.
In your black, you don't really see it because, well, there's other stuff in your tank. So, yeah, you know, you'll hear a lot about people saying, well, I put Dawn in my tanks or a dishwasher detergent or something. You don't need to do that at all.
Oh, okay.
Your gray tanks have enough soap in them from just normal use. You don't need to add any more in there. The key to all this, obviously, is just water. Using a lot of water. If you're camping in a place, an area of the country where water is not an issue, then just you know, make good use of it. Sometimes when you're down in those areas that are challenged for water, things are a little different there. You have to do a little conservation. But after you've moved out of those areas, if you're moving around the country, then once you get into a place where water is not so much an issue, you know, kind of overuse the water a little bit. You know, rinse out the tank a little more than you would. Add a couple more flushes of water, or start out with a couple more gallons of water.
So I guess that's another myth. I don't know if that's myth number 6, maybe?
I think it's 6, yeah.
To say that Dawn or any kind of additives to the gray tank is not necessary.
No, in your shower one, you're putting enough in there with the shampoo and everything you do. In your galley, washing dishes, plenty of soap. You don't need to put any more in.
Okay.
Here's the one thing. We use this this next little gadget here to rinse out all of our customers' tanks after we've scrubbed them clean.
Okay, I have seen those.
Yeah, and this is the one thing I recommend every RVer get.
Okay.
This is called a Valterra Flush King. It's a back flush valve, and it forces water back up into each of the tanks, depending on which valve you have closed. We pair it up with a water meter, so we're able to measure how many gallons we're putting into your holding tank. So
okay.
The way this works is we just kind of hook it up right here.
And why would that be important to know how much water went in?
Well, let's say you have 50-gallon tanks, and if you meter in 52 gallons, you've got a little mess in there all of a sudden.
Right.
So we always meter in somewhere between 80 and 90% of your tank's capacity. That way we're sure that we're going to be safe and not create a mess in there, but yet we're putting enough in there to do any kind of rinsing that we need after the scrubbing and cleaning process.
Okay.
For RVers who would want to get this device, and again, we recommend it for everybody, this would be a great way to rinse out your holding tanks, your black and your gray. You can do them individually. I wouldn't do them together. Compared to your onboard tank rinse, well, you don't have one typically for your gray tank, so you can't rinse that out, but this can do that. And then for your black, yeah, you have your rinser in there, but it's only putting a small stream of water in, where this is putting a full 3 inches of water, granted at a slightly lower pressure, but it's coming in kind of a wall of water into your tanks, and it's dredging out the bottom and the front where waste tends to accumulate. So once your tanks have been professionally cleaned, getting a device like this is a really smart idea, because it'll help to keep those tanks clean and them performing better, the sensors working continually, odors will be reduced, you'll have no problems with clogs, with capacity. So really this Valterra Flush King is really a product that we really recommend every RVer get, and pairing it up with a meter just makes sense so that you don't overflood your tanks.
Okay, so great.
We're going to flush out the gray tank here first because it's the one that's open.
And we will put that on the Amazon list and a link down below in the pinned comment and description for people that want to pick up one of those.
So you keep one tank valve open at a time. Water is forced to go back up the tank, up the pipe into the tank. Right now it's only going to go in the gray because that's the only one open. Can't come back down this way because this is closed. We're sending a wall of water into your tanks and we're about to rinse them out.
And those sensors and the vent thing should be fairly clean as well?
Yeah, so let me use a little visual aid for you here. Let's kind of pretend that this is your tank. You know, they're kind of like this. They're kind of, you know, a little wide this way, longer in the back, and not very thick. So if this is your tank in your RV, and this is pretty much the same in any RV, they kind of tilt down towards the front where the hole's at.
Sure.
And that's how stuff gets out. But stuff tends to accumulate down in these corners and on the bottom. And unfortunately, the sensors are actually placed here in the corners.
Oh.
So that waste that's kind of getting down there and thickening up and accumulating is actually coating the sensors. And your sprayer coming in from the top just really can't reach there, can't drive that stuff out. This just gets thicker and thicker. So having your tanks professionally cleaned like we're doing today is really the way to kind of get you back to zero and get you back to how you were in the factory when it came from the factory. And then being really smart with water usage, not using a tank additive that's going to break stuff down and get us back to where we were. That really is the smart way to be using your RV. RVers that get the Flush King, I would recommend that they use it on both their tanks. Say you're camping for a week or 10 days, 2 weeks. Probably only use it once, maybe toward the end of your camping experience, about once a week, once every other week. You don't need to use it every time. 1 or 2 flushes with this into each tank is more than adequate. The more you use it over time, the healthier your tanks will be. Now that looked pretty good. I didn't see anything coming out of there, so I'm going to move over to the black tank. I'm going to close the gray and open up the black, and we'll see how we did there.
So what you were saying, Jim, is if people disagree with some of these RV black tank and gray tank myths,
Yes.
that go ahead, use the additive, whatever you want. Just you might be calling you a little bit sooner than you want to.
Absolutely. You know, I don't say that any of my advice is hard and fast. If you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. Keep doing what you've been doing. We are always happy to service your RV. If you follow our guidelines, you'll see us a little less often, and I think you'll have a lot less headaches with your tanks and your plumbing system.
And speaking of that, how often, if you are doing most things right, how often would somebody need your service?
So we always say, you know, have it done first. Whether you're a first-time owner, second time, third time, fourth time, you know, it's always good to kind of bring you back to zero. Even somebody that just bought their rig, but their sensors just aren't working, they've already reached that state where they need some assistance with that. So we can go ahead and do our service, kind of bring you back to how you came from the factory. And then after that, depending on the severity of what we find, we generally recommend that you do it a year later. And if we see a dramatic improvement, which we know you will if you follow our process, then you can go every 2 or even 3 years after that between cleanings. So once we teach you the right way to care for your tanks, then you've got the smarts to maintain them, and you don't have to see us as often.
Okay, is there information like that on your website?
Absolutely. We have an entire library of articles, at both of our 2 main websites, cleantank.com and askcleantank.com. There are helpful tips on there. There's tutorials on how to do things like tank rinsing, sanitation of your freshwater tank, caring for your hot water tank. So there's a whole website's full of resources. For us, a smart customer is our best customer. So a big part of what we do is education as well.
That's awesome, and thank you for your service in the nasty area of RV living.
Well, it's nothing that I ever thought I would be doing for a living, but I got to tell you, I love meeting people and I love helping them, and that's true of all of our dealers are like family to us. So you'll get the same treatment from all of them.
Yeah, this has been super educational. I mean, me coming in here with 10 years of RV living experience and finding many things that I was doing wrong, or could be doing better.
We'll have to see if we can bust some more myths for us here in the next
yeah, definitely. Yeah, let us know. Oh, look how clean it is. Uh-oh.
Not so much, huh?
Not so clean.
Yeah.
So you said you'll do this at least 2 times?
Generally speaking, a black tank will flush anywhere from 2 to 5 times. My record is 13 flushes.
Oh my God!
That was with an owner. That was with an owner who kept it up in the woods, and it was sort of the community bathroom.
Oh man!
But in general, anywhere from 2 to 5 will take care of the flushing after we've done the cleaning on it. And like I said, after you've had them cleaned, and if you get this Flush King here, then you're only going to be probably doing a rinse or 2 every time, and that'll be sufficient to keep it nice and clean.
So this is flush number 2.
Yep.
It is looking better, a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, oh, most definitely better.
Okay.
If you ever see one of our clean tank dealers, just feel free to come up and ask them any question that you may have.
So no question is too dirty, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, I've pretty much heard every tank or poop joke there is in the world, but if you think that you have one that I haven't heard, why don't you go ahead and ask me or tell me it. So.
Well, okay, why don't you share the best ones you got?
Well, we are number 1 in the number 2 business, and we do have the dirtiest job, and sometimes we are full of poop or crap, so you know, there's all kinds of things we hear.
And so you service anything with a tank?
Yeah. Obviously, we've worked on anything from a small kind of weekend RV up to a multi-million-dollar motor coach. They're all the same. You know, they got tanks, they got pipes, they got gate valves. We all kind of use them the same way. So to us, they're all the same thing. A little bit different, you know, here and there. Some little nuances, I guess, between different types of RVs, but essentially they're all the same.
Well, I think one of the issues RVers have is they might know how to do everything right, but then they have guests that come in and throw stuff in there that should not go in there.
Yeah. You know, we've RVers that have kids or grandkids don't always understand as well as we do how the plumbing system works, so it's always good to go over that with younger or more inexperienced RV users. Just kind of let them know. Again, I keep coming back to water, but that is exactly the key.
So why do you think that additives are being pushed if they don't work?
I think that there are not a lot of people in my industry who do the cleaning like we do. Nationwide, we have our 13 dealers. There's probably another 10 or 12, I would say. So if you think only of about 20 companies that are talking to RVers, and that's been a more recent thing, there's just not a lot of education out there. People don't know any better. There are a lot of sources, whether it's a forum or a Facebook group, a company, you know, kind of pushing a product without a lot of research behind it, or maybe that camper that camps next to you, that guy that's been doing it for 200 years that swears by a certain product or a certain process. So there's a lot of information out there, and again, you can use whatever you want to use. You can do whatever you want to do. I've cleaned over 10,000 RVs, and if you figure the average RV has 2 to 3 tanks in it, I've probably done 20 to 25,000 tank cleanings.
Wow.
In the last 9 years, so I got a little bit of knowledge, so I like to give that to people.
And I've also heard that some additives actually eat away at your tank. Have you found that to be true at all?
Well, so people use things in there that are more intended for a harsher environment, like a tank that might be a home septic system. where they're really trying to clean it out, or people might be using harsh chemicals, thinking that a harshness or an intensity is a good thing in their tanks. And I hate to say it, I hate to be the broken record, but I keep coming back to water, water, water. You don't really need to put a tank additive in there, and you really don't need to be using any kind of harsh chemical, especially. I've heard of people who put a whole gallon full of bleach down their tanks, thinking that that's a good way to disinfect it. There's really no need to disinfect your waste tanks. They're always going to have waste in them, so disinfecting them once only means they're going to become disinfected the next time you use them.
Right.
And things like bleach, which are incredibly caustic, can actually damage some of the seals and some of the gate valves in your tank. So you want to be you want to be really careful about using a very caustic or very intense chemical to do any kind of cleaning.
So we can probably call that myth number 7, right?
I think myth number 7 there, yeah. So,
no, don't use bleach.
Don't use bleach.
Nothing harsh.
Yeah, now we use bleach, of course, when we do a sanitation of our freshwater tank, but it's at a low concentration and it's not in there very long. It does a really good job of eliminating molds and mildews in there, but
right.
You're only talking about a number of hours at the most where that's there, and then we're getting rid of it immediately and doing a rinsing process afterward to really clean it out. But you know, putting bleach or any other kind of caustic chemical down your tanks as a regular part of the care is just not a smart idea.
And you said that was, you could roughly get maybe what, 3 times the pressure from a regular
Well, we're looking at, this is going to be the park pressure here, so here at this park it's not that high, so we're probably looking at maybe 40-50 psi going in, but you'll see this is a 3-inch pipe, so you've got kind of a wall of water that's going in there, so it's doing a really good job of agitating and kind of cleaning from the bottom.
Okay.
Whereas a tank flusher just kind of sprays on the top at a certain little pattern. It's got a minimal spray that stream that comes out. It is a little higher pressure, but this is just more of a mass of water that's being pushed up in there. I feel it just does a better job.
So we could maybe call that myth number, is that 7 or 8?
It might be 8.
Myth number 8 is that the regular sanitization of an RV does not clean the tank.
Yeah, the tank sprayer does not do what I would say an adequate job in cleaning out the tanks.
Better than nothing, but doesn't do all of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you use that and you use one of these, then you're going to be doing the best that you could probably possibly do without getting help.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if you've had the chance to have them cleaned professionally by a company like ours. We've gotten them as clean as they come from the factory. Now you're just maintaining them that way. In a minute here, when we're done with this, we're going to talk about a tank additive that I would recommend. And there is a specific one that we personally have been using for about 11 years. Our company recommends it. Every time you get a service done by us, we give you a bottle of it. We give you the recipe to make your own.
Oh, okay.
It works like a charm. Every RVer, including me, wants to put something in their tanks. And I understand that, and so we've came up with this concoction. It's something you've doubtlessly heard about. It's a mixture of Calgon and Pine Sol. Calgon and Pine Sol does 2 things. The Calgon in here breaks the surface tension of water, sort of like the old Calgon Take Me Away. If you have any viewers that are a little on the older side, they'll remember that commercial. It makes everything slippery in your tanks. So the addition of Calgon or use of Calgon will keep everything slick, and it'll prevent a buildup inside your tanks. The Pine Sol is a great disinfectant, kills molds, mildews, viruses, and bacteria. This solution that we give away in this size bottle, pre-mixed to everybody that we do a service for, is ready to go. For the most part, every RVer will put a cup or a fourth of a bottle into every tank, including your gray. So when you're grays, that Pine Sol will help to fight that mold buildup. In the blacks, the combination of the two will keep them nice and clean. The recipe, if you get one of these bottles, for this size bottle is on here. More importantly, on the back of all of our business cards and every piece of literature we have on our website, Facebook groups, everything, we give you the recipe to make a gallon of it. You can make a gallon of it on your own for about 10 bucks. It is the cheapest tank solution you will ever use. And I guarantee you, once you start using it, you will love it.
Wow,
So, we always give that away. That's kind of one of the things that we do with our company is freely give away our preferred tank solution for people to use. But again, water, water, water.
I thought we had an issue with our black tank. I started noticing a smell in the bathroom that reminded me of a problem that we had in our previous RV when the black tank had a leak. As I was trying to figure out what it was, it seemed like when we would shower and the gray tank would fill up, it would get worse. And then opening up the cabinet down here, you would really get the stench coming out of there. We had to leave the vent fan on basically 24/7 just to keep the smell out of here. And I finally did what a lot of you guys do. I got on YouTube to try to figure it out. And the very first video talked about something called an air admittance valve. Have you ever heard of this? But yeah, there is a valve down here. We'll get a light in here and show it to you. So basically, that little valve right there, it's kind of all a part of this system below your sink. You may not realize it, but gray tank water can smell just as bad as black tank water. The air admittance valve, and it's similar or the same thing as what you would have in a sticks and bricks, but it just helps to make this system all work together. It stops your P-trap here from emptying out completely, like from the suction or a siphon when you are running water through it. It just kind of keeps the pressure equalized, is my understanding of it. The point being, they go bad, apparently, and even though this RV isn't that old. So the cool thing about it is you can just pop that thing off by hand. It doesn't require any tools. And find a spare one like this one here on Amazon, and they're not very expensive. So I'm going to pop this thing off and get a new one on there and see if this smell goes away. There it is. That should be the culprit, this little guy right here. Well, as a temporary fix, we're just going to put a plastic bag over that with a rubber band. And you could do that as well if you got to get this on order and wait for it for a little bit. Put a plastic bag with a rubber band around it. Might help to keep down the smell. There we go. Hopefully that will help stop the stench from coming back in the RV. All right, got the new one right here. And we'll take this bag off. I think it helped with the smell a little bit. There we go. And we'll cross our fingers that in the morning it won't smell in here anymore. Yes, it's been about 24 hours since we did this and no more smells. So again, this was a cheap fix, about $10 for that part.
Wow, wasn't Jim full of great information about taking care of your holding tanks? We will put his contact information in the description and the pinned comment if you want to have Kleen Tank professionally clean your tanks. Also, that formula for his recommended tank additive. Now, for another awesome video, you can click right over here.